Last year we were fortunate to have some visitors from Papua New Guinea, and I'm pleased to say this year that we're welcoming back Grace Tamu, and then also her two colleagues, Mathew Ogai, and then joining us online from Papua New Guinea as well, we have Cedric Robert. So Grace, Cedric and Mathew will be presenting on the theme of digital resilience in Papua New Guinea and providing a case study to describe the significance of digital resilience to the judiciary. Grace will be starting the presentation. Cedric will continue partway through, online from PNG, and then finally Mathew will wrap it up. And I'll just quickly introduce Grace, Cedric and Mathew in turn. Grace Tamu is from Wabag District, Inga Province, Papua New Guinea. She's been working in the public service and the IT sector for the last 17 years. She's a Cisco certified network administrator. After 14 years with the Department of Finance, Grace is now working with the PNG Judiciary, National Judicial Staff Services, in the role of systems manager. She presented at Govis last year and has been delighted to be back. And then Mathew is from Popondetta Odo Province, Papua New Guinea. He graduated with a degree in information systems and worked in the private sector for 4 years. He's now working as an assistant network officer, specialising in voice, data and switching across the judiciary network. And then finally, Cedric is from Aloto, Milne Bay Province, PNG. He's been working in the IT sector for 3 years since completing a diploma in ICT. He started off his career with the telecommunications provider Telecom and transferred to the PNG Judiciary in 2021. He's now working as an IT support officer and is supporting approximately 1,000 users spread across the country, just as you do. So, yeah, welcome up Grace, who'll be first. So there you go to change the slides.
That's okay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Govis team. Kia ora. My name is Grace, and I'm delighted to be here with my fellow colleague at the Govis conference in Wellington, beautiful Wellington, to present on digital resilience in Papua New Guinea Judiciary. So a bit of information about my team and I. We all work for the judiciary in Papua New Guinea, the IT division. So my role is systems administrator. Mathew Ogai is our assistant network officer, and Cedric, as Chris mentioned, is our IT support officer. So here is our agendas. I will start off with a brief introduction to Papua New Guinea, where all three of us come from. Then I will move on to talk about systems resilience. After this, Cedric will present on user resilience, followed by Mathew finishing off with network resilience and how that's implemented in the judiciary. So this here is a picture of our new court complex. So for some of you who do not know where Papua New Guinea is, this slide shows our geographical location. So PNG lies 160 kilometers north of Australia, and as you can see from the map, it lies northwest of New Zealand. So Port Moresby is the capital district, capital city, which is where my colleagues and I are based, and is approximately a 3 hours flight from Brisbane. So that should give you a fair idea of where we sit, just above Australia. So 5 fun facts about my country, Papua New Guinea. 1, PNG has more than 800 languages and approximately 1,000 different cultures. making PNG one of the most diverse countries in the world. PNG has a tropical climate and experiences 2 distinctive seasons. So we have just wet and dry season, unlike New Zealand with 4 seasons. PNG is home to one of the world's only toxic birds in the world, called the hooded pitohui. Its feathers contain one of the most potent toxins known to science. It looks cute, but it's dangerous. PNG is home to the 3rd largest rainforest in the world. So we are 3rd in line after Amazon forest in Brazil and Congo. And the last one, PNG is situated on the Pacific Ring of Fire. Thus, we experience regular earthquakes, volcano eruptions, and even tsunamis. So this concludes my brief introduction to PNG, which I do hope you found interesting, and we shall move on to my talk on system resilience and its implementation within the judiciary. So, system resilience, what do we mean by that? IT systems resilience is the ability of an organization to maintain acceptable service levels when there is a disruption of business operations, critical processes, or your IT ecosystem. So simply put, it's the ability of an IT system to continue to function in the event of a disruption, such as fault, disasters, cyber attacks, etc. So some examples of common disruptions in IT services back in the judiciary, which we have experienced, power outages, system failures, both software and hardware, and unplanned network outages due to natural disasters. So this picture here is of our data center in the new court building. Hyperconverged infrastructure. So the judiciary's IT infrastructure is built on a hyperconverged platform. So we have migrated all our systems from a converged infrastructure to a hyperconverged infrastructure back in 2021. And since then, this has greatly improved our system's resilience. So in terms of resilience, a hyperconverged platform has its benefits, such as it provides a single system where all hardware and software components are integrated, thereby reducing complexity, saves costs, and provides faster scalability. Additionally, hyperconverged infrastructure reduces the legacy risks associated with traditional architectures that require multiple components and improves IT agility when new services are easily and quickly provisioned. Lastly, and I think most importantly, hyperconverged infrastructure was built to provide high availability, which is a must-have feature when your organization is running a number of mission-critical workloads, which is true in our case. So this feature has worked well for us in terms of having a resilient system. So the judiciary has a hybrid infrastructure in terms of the location of our hosted applications. So with our current setup, 40% of our business applications are hosted in our data center on-premise, while 60% is hosted on cloud. So this setup has been quite resilient for us, as it provides high availability for our core business applications. For instance, when there is a long power outage, causing us to shut down our data center, 60% of our core applications is still accessible to internal and external users, as it is hosted on the cloud. So you would need to just access those with internet data. So that's the end of my talk. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now introduce our next presenter, who is Mr. Cedric Robert, who will be presenting online. So he is our IT support officer, and he will be presenting on user resilience and its implementation in the judiciary. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Cedric Robert, and I work with the judiciary in Papua New Guinea as an IT support officer. My role in the judiciary is to monitor and maintain computers, basic network components, install or upgrade hardware and software, and solve technical issues as they arise. I will be presenting about the topic user resilience, which will cover storage backup, manual business processes as the applications are shown in the letters above, and awareness of resilience. Storage has been one of the biggest challenges in the judiciary, trying to keep data secure, reliable to access anywhere while having large capacity of storage. Local backup being a common storage method, having data stored through flash drive, hard drives, SD cards, and the list goes on. It is a secure method. However, once you lose the storage device, you lose everything. Network drive is our on-premises method. A storage device is usually created by a systems administrator, having your data stored and accessed by the file server. The advantage of using the network drive is you're able to access your files using any computer or laptop as long as it is connected to the domain or through VPN access. The negative side of it is a one-point failure. Once the file server is down, everyone is not able to access and save their files. Microsoft OneDrive is the preferred cloud-based application that we use to save files on, as it is included in our Microsoft 365 license. The good side of it, you're able to access your files anywhere in the world on different platforms. The bad side of it, you'll need internet access to save and access your files. The integrated cage management system is the technology-driven solution that has been introduced in the year 2017 to the Papua New Guinea Judiciary to provide an efficient and streamlined process for managing legal cases. So in the event when IECMS is inaccessible or there is an internet issue, here are basic steps and procedures where registry officers take to file court documents. So firstly, they listen to enquiries, 7 clients at the counter. During that time, this may be receiving a new appeal or an existing one. Then they ensure that the documents such as affidavits or statement or disputed facts and legal issues, when going on trial, are signed and commissioned by both parties. Once they confirm, they seal the document, making it a legal document, and a file number or reference number is generated manually. Lastly, they scan the document, keeping an electronic file record, and a hard copy sent to the filing room, later brought to the courtroom as per a date scheduled for hearing. For users who have laptops or wireless network interface cards installed on their PCs, sometimes connect to our redundant network, which is satellite, or sometimes use the mobile tendering hotspot during the time of network disruption. Microsoft Dynamics is the cloud-based application platform that our finance team uses to do payments to vendors and suppliers. Whenever Microsoft Dynamics cannot be accessed, or when there is a problem arise with the external bank system, the finance team typically develops a backup plan which involves manual banking. In the event an urgent payment must be made. And here are some steps and procedures taken to do payments. So firstly, they check the requisition with the correct approval. Then they confirm performance invoice or quotations if the total amount is same with the finance form and has the correct signatory. Once it's confirmed, they create a batch and authorize banking. A check is raised. Once we receive receipts, they confirm that we have done payments and a spreadsheet is created marking goods and services as paid. Lastly, a remittance advice is delivered to vendors and suppliers, telling them or advising them that we have done payments. Once the application is back online, the respective officers refer back to the spreadsheet created and update the system as goods and services are being paid. For the record is the application that we use in the courtrooms to transcribe and record cases. The FTR system has an inbuilt power redundant that can last almost an hour when the power goes off. The application has 4 channels and saves audio into tracks font metric, which is later uploaded to a shared drive or the CRS server. Thinking of a worst case scenario, in the event when FTR is inaccessible or the application freezes during court. Well, there is a device called Marantz, which acts as a secondary backup recording system. However, the device has 1 channel and saves files into MP3 format. Later, it is burned to a CD, keeping a hard copy, and a soft copy is stored on a hard drive as local backup, and another more is sent to the file server. Another device which is on standby is the portable FTR system, which is easy to set up and usually taken to trip for rural site for court circuits. In the event when there is an issue, for instance, power or internet outage, or other technical issues such as server being offline, we keep judges, external staff, and external users through telephone, being the fastest way to communicate effectively from a very long distance. However, when the telephone is affected by the network, another way to advise users is through bulletin boards around different locations, and dissemination of letters are hand-delivered to divisions. Informal communication is the most detailed way to advise users. Explaining an incident will be sometimes criticized by a point. Most times we are advised and complimented during the conversation. Going back to my main points, and I thank you all for listening. Now I will introduce the next presenter, who is Mathew Ogai, our network officer. He monitors and maintains the network infrastructure across 21 sites in PNG, ensuring all network components or nodes are functioning well. He will take you guys through the topic network resilience. Thank you.
Thank you, Cedric. Good afternoon, all. Once again, my name is Mathew Ogai. I am the Assistant Network Officer to the Judiciary of Papua New Guinea. On a daily basis, I assist the Network Administrator, ensure the network infrastructure across the country is operational 24/7. In doing that, we design, configure, and implement local and wide area networks and research on network technologies that will aid the delivery of justice to the people of Papua New Guinea. In my presentation, I will walk you through the network component we have in place and how the judiciary is managing resiliency within our network infrastructure. The PNG judiciary has 21 sites across the country. All 21 sites are connected back to Port Moresby over a primary connection, which is the Kumul Submarine Fiber Transmission Connection, which is operated by Telecom PNG. Telecom PNG is a state-owned enterprise and operates telecommunication within Papua New Guinea. The judiciary has also deployed a satellite network as a secondary connection. In the event we have issues with our primary connection, we fall back to the secondary connection. Displayed is a conceptual diagram of the PNG judiciary network infrastructure. The NSECOL is the headquarters located in Port Moresby that houses our firewall, which is mainly used for network monitoring, routing of internet traffic, and also acts as a security perimeter. We then have the switching infrastructure that speeds up internal communication for judiciary staff between multiple divisions locally and remotely, allowing faster accessibility to network resources. Judiciary has also rolled out a satellite network, as I stated in my earlier slide. As depicted, we have a fiber backhaul from the production to the disaster recovery site. In the event there is a system outage with the production site, we can fire up the disaster recovery site to maintain business continuity. In terms of network security, we have an endpoint protection, which is cloud-based, that works together with our firewall. The endpoint protection identifies, prevents, and takes the best course of action to whether isolate the PC from the network or quarantine the threats identified. In regards to power, we also have a genset that supports the whole judiciary when there is a power outage. But the IT department has also installed uninterrupted power supplies within the data center to ensure there is a redundant power source into the data center. One of the main challenges that we are currently facing in Papua New Guinea is power outage. Power outage is a norm, and it is undeniably an ongoing issue in PNG. So in being resilient, the PNG judiciary has taken several approaches in ensuring all our network infrastructure is safeguarded before power outage, during power outage, and after power is restored. So for the headquarters, we have installed surge filters and surge protectors to safeguard our infrastructure in the event there is a power outage. Also in parallel, we have an uninterrupted power supply, a primary and backup secondary power supply to ensure the network infrastructure is operational while awaiting the genset to kick in. For our remote sites, in order to maintain the delivery of justice, the IT department has issued postpaid SIM cards and smartphones with laptops to officers in charge of our remote sites, the ones that are in charge of the courts spread nationwide across PNG. So they normally do tethering with their smartphones to gain access back to our cloud-based applications and especially our 365 email. So at the end of the day, ensuring the delivery of justice in a timely manner to the people of Papua New Guinea is paramount. So despite the approaches we have listed to address the power outage, at some point there will still be an element of failure present. So in cases where we have prolonged power outages in PNG, it normally goes as far as 3 days without power, the whole city goes offline. So when that happens, we normally fall back to the traditional manual process, as our second presenter highlighted, where finance and payroll division normally do payments to the bank manually. They normally go to the bank and stand in long queues to do payments via check. Our court staff assist our lawyers, counsels that come to court to file their cases by manually scanning them and archiving them. Then when the system comes back online, they enter it, upload it back into the system. So when that happens, the lengthy blackouts that normally happens, just for best practice, the IT team, systems infrastructure team has to shut down the data center just to safeguard the infrastructure in case there's a spike in voltage or something. So when that happens, we go back to the manual process like I stated earlier. So the judiciary is focused in moving into the digital space as a priority area. But as a developing nation, there are challenges, overwhelming challenges that we are facing right now. But nevertheless, with logical reasoning and thorough technical reviews driven by the benefits, the e-judiciary and IT team has rolled out several projects, which are the MPLS network and satellite integration to all our 21 sites, which is 80 to 90% complete now, which will enable us failover switching between our primary connection and our secondary connection. Currently, with the infrastructure, we have 6 internet service providers, which we're using SD-WAN routing to do switching over if one fails based on latency, jitter, and packet loss. So one of the biggest developments sorry, the cursor is stuck at the... Can you move the cursor back to the main display screen, please? One of the biggest developments in the region is the construction of the... go back down again, sorry. Can you move the cursor up, please? One of the main big developments in the region is the construction of the Waigani New Court Complex. Sorry, there's some display that is supposed to come up. But
Let's see if this can help.
Can move it back to the screen. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, yeah, there it goes.
Yeah, then we need that. Yeah. It's okay. Oh, good.
It is all actually.
Some pictures, but it's okay. Okay, sorry for the delay. One of the biggest developments in the region is the construction of the Waigani National New Court Complex, which is roughly cost the judiciary around approximately $1 billion kina. The monumental site comes with technical and systematic benefits, which now we have 3 power sources into the data center. So we have a redundant, over-redundant power source now. Hopefully it assists the justice overcome power outage. We also under planning is an appellate court system now. So we will be having a district court, a national court, Supreme Court, and the appellate court. But it is still under planning and review at the moment now. And just for fun facts of the new building, we have 8 different lift systems in one building. So projects that we are planning on embarking on one of them is the digital bail. Thus, digital bail will reduce the current overcrowding of correctional facilities. With the overcrowding of prison facilities, it puts pressure on the staffs and also a spike in our operational costs as well. So it will also offer the potential to reduce the number of detained in PNG correctional facilities by placing remedies and minor offenders under home detention. So we also have the Judges Portal, which is an information repository to assist judges, judge associates, and village court officials in providing a centralized location and providing an ease to retrieve information. The application is a mobile-ready application that allows judges and court officers to access it anywhere, just to have internet connection. So you can move the slide down, please. Thank you. With the current projects and future projects that we're planning to embark on, is ultimately to assist us deliver a better justice to the people of Papua New Guinea. So with that said, thank you for the opportunity to share high-level insights to resiliency in Papua New Guinea based on a case study, the judiciary of Papua New Guinea. So please, can you slide down the script, please? Please do not hesitate to email us. I believe there's a slide that will show our email address and contact details. Please do contact us via email or telephone us if you have some queries to ask, which I also believe you might have some information that would definitely help us improve the delivery of justice to the people of Papua New Guinea. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you want to answer some questions? Would you like to answer some questions? If you come up here, we could do a bit of a Q&A. We've got a bit of...
Hopefully not hard ones.
Yeah. We've still got a little bit of time before the next session. So if you've got any questions, feel free to put them in Slido now or put up your hand and we'll bring the mic over. But I've got one to start off with. Yeah, good idea. And Cedric, I'm sure, is still listening in and can give us a ping on WhatsApp or something if he wants to answer too. But, you know, it was really cool seeing your network map, I suppose, of your 10 regional sites and how you've got the submarine cable connection and then the satellite backup. I was just wondering, are there any examples you can maybe tell us a bit more about where the cables were broken or stopped working and you had to fall back on satellite, and how did that work, and how long was it until you could get the fibre connection restored? Oh yeah, I'll bring you a handhold.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Chris. Sorry. Yes, it's a very good question. What we actually did, we had last year we had an earthquake of approximately 7.4 magnitude in the highlands region of Papua New Guinea. Our Kumul submarine fiber cable is, custodians of that cable is Dataco within PNG. It comes from Sydney, Guam into PNG. So that cable was affected by the earthquake, and it broke the express link out of PNG, and also it broke the branches of that cable that connects other regions of Papua New Guinea as well. So it was a really big disaster for us. So it was really good because we had a satellite redundant connection through Kasifika. So we had to push not most, but I would say all our priority users, Chief Justice, the executive management of the PNG Judiciary out that pipe. So basically they had access to only emails and web-based applications, so we had to disable graphics and YouTube access and all this just to free up the pipe so that they would have faster accessibility. But that's what basically we did, so yeah.
Oh, great, thank you, yeah. Getting people off of YouTube, then maybe that would be a challenge, I don't know.
Yeah,
Got to do our emails instead. We've had another question come through on Slido. So, do you have issues with mobile network outages? Do citizens use satellite connectivity as well? And do you use Starlink, or is it something else that you own?
Thank you. I think there's several questions in the, 2 questions. So for the mobile network, we roughly have four mobile carriers in PNG. Digicel, Telecom, Vodafone just came in recently. So with the mobile networks, they have their own separate towers. So most of the outage, they're supported by their own power sources. So our mobile network is, would say, redundant enough to sustain natural disasters. So
would that include cyclones?
We'll have to try it out. We'll have to have an experience with that to confirm whether it's resilient enough with cyclones. So, for the satellite connection, it's normally to organizations that have the financial capacity to install the infrastructure. Unlike New Zealand, I passed by several stores. I had Wi-Fi access. It was really good and helpful with directions. But for PNG, our geographical location is quite inconvenient for us to have that infrastructure in place. So, like for example, if I want to go to another remote site, I'll have to hop on a plane, a 45-minute plane again to to a remote site to do support work or to troubleshoot the network if there's an outage with our remote sites as well. So, for satellite, I guess goes back again to funding capacity of each organizations, but it's not for the public to access and all that, if you're asking.
Mm-hmm. I might just go to one last question. So, the second one on the screen here, you've spoken a lot about infrastructure, but can you share a little about how you iterate services in response to changing needs?
Thank you, Chris.
Mm-hmm. Just hold it up to your mouth.
Yeah. Could you read the...
Yeah, so you've spoken a lot about infrastructure, but could you talk more about how you iterate services in response to changing needs? So, the people side, the culture, the process side, how do you show resilience in that way?
In terms of the services we provide in IT?
Yeah, all the services you provide the judiciary, I suppose. When there is some sort of impact or problem, how do you let people know what's happening and what your response is? How do you it's about communication and leadership and decision making.
Okay, thank you, Chris. So I think one important thing that Cedric has mentioned when we do have our services are unavailable and we need to let our users know, communicate that to them. We go back to we use as Cedric mentioned, we use our phones to advise the users. We also, for example, when the email is down as well, we put notices on within our organization. We let our users know through notice boards and all. So am I answering the? Yeah. What else?
Yeah, I mean, if you're using the internet to communicate normally and that's not working, how do you communicate and how do people know what to do? But I think you've kind of answered.
Yes, and also perhaps radio as well. That's one thing we could look at just to bring out the message that these are the systems that are down and to advise the users.
And we might be hearing more about this later in the afternoon, but it was, when Cyclone Gabrielle came to New Zealand, mobile networks went down quite quickly because the battery backups ran out within a few hours in many places, and all of the many fibre connections to that region of New Zealand, the Hawke's Bay, were cut. And so, geographically, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea have quite a few similarities. I guess we're island nations and we've got quite rugged topography. Yours is even more so. Earthquakes, volcanoes, you name it. Yeah. So, well, we'll wrap it up there. But thank you very much for coming out again this year and speaking to us. And if anyone has any questions or would like to know more about digital resilience, well, these guys in their day jobs will probably need to display far more resilience to all sorts of things than any of us ever will. So you can take it from them, that's for sure. So thank you very much, Grace, Mathew and Cedric.
Thank you.
Yeah.